Alright, so this is a suggestion via Discord. The name of the video is a 600 billion AOC's master plan to completely socialize housing. Let's see where this takes us, guys. Immediately. Okay.
The president touches on the debt in his speech in the next hour. By the way, that was tape that we showed of a previous speech. He hasn't started speaking, as Grady just mentioned. Well, neither presidential candidate, meanwhile, has made the economy a big focus, or at least the debt, a big focus of their campaign. Let's bring in former Congressional Budget Office Director Doug Holtz-Eakin to discuss all this. Doug, I know as the former CBO director, you look at some of these numbers, particularly the deficit and the debt, and I'm sure your head is exploding.
Right,
but let
wild.
me just print out and a hat tip to Gary Kaltbaum, because he pointed this out to us all. The August numbers, we just got the August numbers for the deficit. It was $380 billion in August. And in the same month, the total revenues came in at only $307 billion. In other words, we are spending more than twice as much as we're taking in. Try doing that at home, by the way. What is going to happen as a result?
I mean, they listen. They can just print money at any time. Basically, what they've been doing for these last couple of years, they're just printing money, bro. Right? Devaluing the dollar more and more and more as the days are progressing.
They're doing that.
Well, it's already happening, David. It just happens in a little bit each year, not enough for people to notice. But if you run big deficits for long periods of time, you undercut future standards of living. And we've run big deficits for a long time. And growth in the 21st century is a full percentage point lower than it was for GDP per capita in the 20th century. Big deficits slow the growth of the economy. They hurt the growth in the standard of living. And if you layer on top of that other bad policies, you get what we've had recently. You know, for those people who work full-time, full year, men or women, their median incomes are lower now than they were in 2020.
Absolutely.
And that is not that's just not okay.
And all of these
adjusted for inflation,
election year payouts. I mean, that's what's causing this current rush to spend as much money as the Harris-Biden administration possibly can. But it's going to get worse. Particularly if Kamala Harris has her plans recognized. And you wrote about this, particularly in housing, this $25,000 gift. And now, I don't know if you just heard, but AOC has come out with a master.
Bro, that $25,000 program is crazy to me. Listen, I understand there are a lot of people that can definitely utilize it, but bro, if you cannot afford specifically the down payment for the house, I'm not sure you should enter into any program that will assist you with the down payment. The reason why I'm saying this here, don't shoot the messenger here, but if something happens to your roof, you now have a messed up roof. Okay, if that makes any sense, because you could not initially afford to pay for the house. The government assisted you with purchasing that property. Right. Let's say your plumbing is all wrong. Right. That is an expensive fix. Your foundation is messed up. How are you going to immediately cover that debt? Because you're literally going to have most likely no equity in that property. Like most of the issues that you're going to experience in that property are going to be immediate, at least within the first year of you owning that house. Right? So how are you going to cover those gigantic expenses if you could not save to the point of being able to cover the down payment by yourself? That's my issue with that, right? Because when I see that, whenever I see these programs, I'm like, who benefits the most from that? Banks, right? Banks do. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get into that property with some type of government assistance. They're going to put that in your name. Now that's your house. Let's say you stay there for a year, 2 years, 3 years before something massive happened, right? All that money you put into that property belongs basically to that debt that you took on when you took out that property. And I think my main issue here is that eventually, if something does happen, you're going to end up having to leave that property. A lot of people just walk away from properties with gigantic expenses, right? And now all of that money you put into that property is gone, because what's going to happen is the bank is basically going to foreclose on that property. They're going to seize it, kick you out of it, auction it, just to do it again to someone else. That's the reality, right? So I am excessively anti down payment assistant. Nope, because generally these are the individuals that are going to default on that loan the quickest. It's just not a smart financial decision for many people. It sounds really good up front, but the banks are benefiting.
Plan that is to completely socialize our housing system, or at least our rental system, to the tune of $600 billion. All
right, let's hear it.
What is going to happen as a result of that? I mean, that is essentially socializing a good chunk of our economy.
Yeah. Explain it.
Yeah, no question about it. I wrote about this morning. If you look at the features of that plan, it doesn't do anything that we don't already have the capability of doing, except
or is it just this thing?
Throw a pile of taxpayer money in it and a lot of federal control over local decisions. And
this is a bad idea.
The end result, I'll point out, is you get 1.25 million units over the next 10 years. That's not very many. Right. They cost $480,000 each, almost $500,000 per unit, and we raise the home ownership capability by about 1/10 of a percentage point. I mean, so this is a way to spend a lot of money and accomplish very, very little. And this is what we've been doing.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. It's not about accomplishing anything. It's about virtue signaling, right? That's it. It's like, hey, look at how good we are for doing this, but it's not going to really benefit anyone in the long run. You cannot build literally enough property unless you start converting office buildings. There's a lot of those sitting empty in a lot of gigantic cities. Okay, if you start doing that and making 1,000 square foot units in these gigantic skyscrapers, bro, you can definitely do that. If that's the case, build micro estates, let's say, right? 1,000 square feet. If you do something like that, you can partition buildings off and sell those off for basically nothing, right? That would make more sense than whatever her plan is, because again, you can make it affordable. You can get people out of the concept of renting by making things extremely affordable, partitioning gigantic buildings that are sitting dormant, right? Old factories and things like that. Do that, right? Bring all these things up to code and then sell them if you want to sell them, right? Sell them for, bro, $30,000 for the property. That's it, bro. And 20% of that should be easily attainable, specifically if you want to purchase a property, bro. That's kind of how I see that.
So this is a way to spend a lot of money and accomplish very, very little. And this is what we've been doing at the federal level.
Right.
It is time to focus the government on the things that can do and needs to do well, and stop running big deficits.
Well, I don't think there's much that it does well, and that's part of the problem. And that's why Donald Trump says he's going to bring Elon Musk into the picture to cut the waste and fraud in government. Do you think that would do any good?
Musk?
Obviously, it's a good idea to cut the waste and fraud, but the reality is that the big money is in the...
Bro, X runs in a deficit, basically. X is not an extremely profitable organization. Neither is Tesla. Right, there are people that purchase, say, a Model 3 for $70,000, and then 3 months later, Musk basically dropped the price by half. We're talking about the fastest depreciating vehicle on the market. I don't know about Elon Musk, he's okay, right? I just don't think that he is he's super rich. Congratulations, right? But I'm trying to think of one thing that I don't know.
Waste and fraud.
Let's do it.
But the reality is that the big money is in the entitlements.
Okay.
It's the vast majority of federal spending, 50 out of 85 trillion in the next 10 years. And the money there is Social Security and Medicare. So for us to get our budget really under control, Social Security and Medicare have to grow more slowly. Not cut, not get eliminated, all the draconian things people threaten with. Just get them to grow more slowly, something like the pace of the economy, and we can solve our problems in a straightforward manner.
All right. Now Donald Trump is focusing on these tax cuts. He's got a lot of tax cuts in his quiver. He wants, of course, to end both of them now want to, because Kamala stole his plan. Both want to end taxes on tips. Now he wants to end taxes on overtime pay.
Bro, or you could just eradicate the concept of tip culture. That'd be great. Optional tip exclusively, right? Pay people enough so we don't have to go into restaurants and tip. And that ridiculous iPad thing that popped up over the 19 incident, guys, right? That ridiculous thing, get rid of that immediately. Or take the tip option off of that, because, bro, that is bullying.
And a lot of people are scoffing, and of course you still hear the rhetoric from Kamala's campaign saying that that the last tax cuts actually cost $2 trillion. That is not true. We went back and looked at the 5 years after the 2017 tax cuts went in. We actually gained revenue. There was a 47% increase in those 5 years in tax revenues coming in as a result of the extra economic activity that took place. That added up to 1.58 trillion extra dollars that came in after the tax code, the Trump tax code came in. So it's not necessarily true that tax rate cuts will cost, right?
Hey, bro, I'm gonna take your word for that. I don't know those numbers. I don't know those stats. So I'm just gonna take your word currently because you're saying it.
So I think the key here is, first of all, I just point out that these tax cuts were so horrible that they want to hold on to the vast majority of them for people making under $400,000. So they can't have been that horrible. The second is 2017 was a tax reform. It was the first major tax reform since 1986, and we desperately needed a tax reform. And it was enormously successful in keeping headquarters in America and bringing investment dollars back to America and driving the growth in real wages. And that's what we should be thinking about for next year. It's not about just having tax cuts. It's about having a pro-growth strategy.
That's a great point.
And given the debt problem, let's bring in the spending side and get a pro-growth strategy that solves some of our debt problems. That would be the ideal approach.
All right. Yeah, I mean, okay. Debt problems are interesting. Yeah, do we need more companies to come back to the United States of America? We definitely do, right? We definitely need more people to pay into the tax system. But it also needs to be lower so people actually want to pay into the tax system to a certain extent. No, I don't think anyone really wants to, but make it less like it is right now. I run a corporation, and I can definitely tell you that taxes are crazy. They're unnecessary. For what? Like, for what? Literally. Like, if you want to use my tax dollars for something, I don't know, open Medicare for everyone, if that's the case. If you want to do something like that, do that. I'd rather you do that than paying for politicians, lobster and steak buffets for lunch and things like that. I'd rather that than that. I'm gonna be honest here. But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly.
Guys, before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.